Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see all of you fine folks today. I hope you're doing well. I've got a pretty interesting show for you tonight, and comes from the place, the land down under. So, in case you might have not heard of Anne Hamilton-Byrne, she was a spicy one. We got other spicy ones that we can talk about also, but hey, Rabbit, good to see you. And those are my links. Feel free to click on any one of those links, and it will. Linktree has always been a very helpful resource to getting in touch with me, or you know, figuring out what I'm doing or what I'm up to. Good to see you, Rabbit. Cool gamer. What is going on? Good to see you. Yeah. So tonight, ah, Anne Hamilton Byrne. She is a spicy one. As I was saying, she's now thankfully well no longer with us. But she left in her wake a righteous amount of people there. So what I'll do is I'll pull up just so you get a little bit idea about this particular one. She's a little creepy here. So these little Aryan children that you see a picture of, these are some of her children, just a few of them. And all the blonde hair that you see on there, that's all dye. She was dyeing their hair to make it all blonde. That was part of her thing. Um these children, although she said they were hers, she actually had no children, which is amazing. Little kid looks like Roy Orbison, if I'm not mistaken. Just really creepy on this lady's part. So this is her right here, and I don't know. I think it. No, I'm not going to play it because I haven't reviewed it yet. But this is Anne Byrne. And she was a character in many more ways than one. It was the amount of abuse that she inflicted onto these children. And it's a little disheartening that somebody could get away with for the amount of the length of time that she did this, that she got away with causing these kinds of issues to the point where they created a documentary about her, which can be found. I believe it's on Stars. Yeah. Um, and let me see. I'm pulling up something here. Sorry, I was running a little bit late tonight. My good friend over on MLS was hanging out, and we were having a conversation. You know how it goes. You get into a conversation. Next thing you know, you're going, "Oh, I guess I need to just jump off here and get onto my own stream." Um, don't know if Caitlin's going to be able to make it tonight. She's got a lot of 3D world stuff to take care of. So if she's not able to make it, don't worry. Don't worry. She'll be with she'll be with us whenever she can. If she's able to. No worries. That's how it goes. All right. So here we go. The family cult of Australia.
In August of 1987, a series of raids by the Victorian and Australian Federal Police were conducted on properties in the areas of the Dandenong Ranges on the outskirts of Melbourne.
Oh, don't be heartbroken. Good to see you, Jacob. Good to see you. Jacob Castro's good people. Glad you can make it in.
And further north in the state at a property at Lake Eildon. The wooden lodge was located on a 5-acre lakeside property known as Kailama, surrounded by big trees and a barbed wire fence. The property belonged to a notorious cult leader, Anne Hamilton-Byrne, who the Victorian and federal police had been investigating for some time. On that day, the police rescued 6 children who had been taken by the New Age sect, now known as the Family.
Yes, that's how they were known, was as the Family. So anybody that's in Australia could probably tell you a little bit more about these. Ah, damn it, hit the wrong key. About this group, because they were infamous there. And this would have been before. Let's see if there's a good one in here. And we'll just give a little bit of this. So yeah, that's the one. So Anne Hamilton-Byrne, a delusional cult leader, was on a drug-fueled mission to gather children in preparation for an apocalyptic war. The Australian yoga teacher took kids from their brainwashed parents over the course of nearly 20 years, raised them as her own on a secluded property in Lake Eildon, Victoria State. Despite fawning over these youngsters' allegations of beatings, starvation, and drugging them with hallucinogenic drug LSD in the 70s and the 80s, and they're still rife. Hamilton-Byrne bleached the hair of 28 children bright blonde and dressed them in matching smocks and jeans. The whole sickening practice was revealed when one daughter, Sarah Hamilton-Byrne, was expelled in 1987 for her rebellious behavior and alerted police to the cult. Hamilton-Byrne, who was handed a fine but spared jail, is seeing out her final years with dementia in a nursing home while a reported power struggle is underway of how the group will continue. Detective Ledemont, who led the investigation into the cult, told The Age, "My only regret is she never was held totally accountable to the misery that she caused on the former children. I have no sympathy for the woman. I consider her the most evil person I ever met in my career." That's Hell. How you doing, Hell 9000? It's good to see you. So that's where this lady is coming from, and I'll show you a nice little interview from her, which is pretty interesting. So if my channel goes down for a little bit, it's just because it might be copyrighted stuff. But we'll give it a try.
For more than 30 years, this is the only glimpse the world has had of Australia's most secretive cult leader, Anne Hamilton-Byrne. To her followers, she is the reincarnation of Christ. To the children she beat and abused, a monster. Now, for the first time, Anne Hamilton-Byrne has agreed to talk. Were the children ever hit?
Of course they weren't.
So this is her in her older years. This is, if I'm not mistaken, this is before she was charged, but I could be wrong, but we'll find out.
Because
They were not beaten.
never.
Never. You'll have to be pretty good to see through that bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's lies.
But this is to be no ordinary interview. It didn't happen, has it?
No. But what about if they went?
Well, that's crucial, isn't it?
Wow, they of course they make this guy look a little bit crazy.
That's
but
crucial.
what would
I
you
don't
do?
abuse my children.
No, yes.
Some of the sect members aren't happy about our presence.
Obviously.
As far as I'm concerned, you're living a lie. And
Because
taking
your
your
entire
suffering
life
punishment
is a
for
network
it.
of
You're
lies.
suffering.
Wow. I think that's the daughter. like her daughter.
And less happy still that children of the sect are fighting back, demanding the truth finally be told about
She's, if I'm not mistaken, she lost one of her legs or both of her legs.
their brutal treatment at the hands of Anne Hamilton-Byrne.
Of all the crimes that I investigated, she is the most evil person that I've ever met.
Lex de Man was the Victorian detective who, for years, pursued the cult.
These people truly believe that she is Jesus Christ.
Anne's followers included dozens of respected
Oh my
middle-class
God.
professionals.
She's a redhead. Uh-oh. You know what that means. Dun, dun, dun.
Doctors, nurses, lawyers, teachers, all willing to do the bidding of their master.
I was told to leave my first wife and go up to the hills. I did. I was told that I would be going to have a baby with another woman, and I did.
Anne began collecting children at her hideaway at Lake Eildon near Melbourne. Her devoted followers able to convince unsuspecting teenage mothers to hand over the babies. One of them was Sarah Hamilton-Byrne.
My mother was a 15-year-old girl whose doctor was a member of a sect, and the doctor organised the adoption, drugged my mother and took me away from her at birth.
Sarah would grow up believing that Anne was her natural mother, that all the other children were her real brothers and sisters. And to convince outsiders they were all related, Anne dyed their hair blonde.
Bleached hair, blonde, singing like the Von Trapp family, living out Anne's fantasy of, in her
Yep, I boomed it. I boomered it. Yes, I was muted. Jamie, good to see you. That's what I said. Red hair is not the worst. There's much worse. That's what I said. And shit. Hell, Al. Some fighting words don't make Jacob go after you. Yes, that is me. Complete and utter boomer. That's how it goes sometimes. Silly me.
thoughts. I'm sure it was something like an Aryan race. Horrific.
Even Anne claims she doesn't know how many children she acquired this way. So how many?
I can't tell. I don't know.
You don't know? Dozens?
No. I only know mine.
How many of them were yours?
Altogether, I had 9 children.
Wow. Red hair freaks you out. Well, it should freak you out a little bit. I mean, redheads can be scary, but you know, if you got the right bindings, you know, they're not as scary as you think. Just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't bind up red hairs.
Even that is a lie. What we do know is that eventually Anne would have up to 28 youngsters under her control, guarded by a sinister group of her disciples known as the Aunties. The children's very existence are secret. So how on earth do you hide 28 children from the world in the middle of Victoria? Well, the answer is right here. A barbed wire fence surrounds this property. The kids were never allowed out. But not 300 metres away is a lake. Thousands of Australians came here for holidays during the course of 2 decades. No one saw anything. No one raised the alarm. When the alarm eventually was raised and the police came knocking, the Aunties had already swung into action and the children just disappeared.
I'll show you where we were hidden.
Sarah showed me the house at Lake Eildon and the secret tunnel where they were forced to hide when visitors called.
There's a little hole which was
Through here?
thing that covered it, little picture sort of thing. Well, it's got a little piece of cloth now. And we'd all pile through here.
Through that hole?
Yeah.
28 of you in there.
Up to 28, yeah.
That is disgusting. That is abhorrent abuse.
We'd just be absolutely still. We were very well disciplined anyway. We were used to not moving a muscle on pain of punishment. Plus we were scared of the police, scared of the outside world. Because they said that if they found us,
I agree, Rabbit. She looks like a blonde, but, well, I think she is blonde, but I think she's that strawberry blonde. So, I don't know.
get the blame and we'd be taken away and beaten in sacks.
It was the auntie's job to hide the children at any cost.
Keep a lot of children in the commune here, is that right?
No, that's not right at all.
In 1985, Channel 9 journalist Mari Moore decided to investigate rumours the children were being held on the property.
There's no children here.
No.
But Mari Moore's suspicions were ignored and the abuse continued. Crimes like bedwetting met with brutal punishment.
And then anyone that would wet their bed would get a beating. We'd hear the screams first thing in the morning. And there was one kid that wet his bed virtually every night. And we called him Zebra Stripes because he had the beating every day. There'd be stripes along his legs.
Were the children ever hit?
No, I can never say we went out to hit the children. Never.
Never went out to hit them, but were
Never
they hit?
hit them, no.
You never hit your child?
No.
Let me read you something here. This is from Sarah's book. Anne had a stiletto-heeled shoe in her hand and she started hitting me. A stiletto-heeled shoe. On my bare backside with the shoe. After about 20 or 30 hits, she got tired and Bill took over. He hit me with his hands. My head kept hitting the wall and I saw tears. Is she making that up?
You know quite well they can.
Ooh.
They can what? Make things up?
Kids can make things up. We've all been kids.
You were a monster at times.
I have nothing to say because I don't feel like
that
one.
right there, I think, is a wig.
Are you a
I'm
monster?
not conscious of what you're saying. I should be conscious of.
Are you a monster?
Certainly not.
Are you evil?
Well, what do you call evil?
Oh,
The
geez.
systematic abuse of children is evil.
No.
And then there was the most terrifying ordeal of all.
They'd put a bucket here and then one of the aunties would help and then you'd have to kneel down and then they'd push your head into the bucket and hold it for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, then bring it out again and say, did you do it? Did you do it? Say, no. Back in again.
Water torture.
Yeah. Because Anne had said better to be drowned than a liar, basically,
Better to be drowned.
than be a liar.
By the time the children were 14, they were being forced to take LSD just as the adult members did.
This is where it gets a little twisted. Taking LSD at 14 years old? Man, if that just wouldn't give you some nightmares in an already abusive situation, that would be insane to get that kind of abuse. Wow.
You're locked in a room, completely dark for days, and just fed this drug over and over again. And people come in, Anne and other of the sect members coming in, telling you to work on yourself and to confess that I was thinking of sex, that I wanted to be raped, that I was evil.
And do you remember giving her LSD at the age of 14? LSD.
No.
Had never happened?
But you're asking me and then telling me.
I'm asking you. Did it happen?
I have no memory of that.
Somehow the children survived their time in this house of horrors, though in the years since, some have committed suicide and many have suffered psychological and emotional problems. Sarah was able to escape the sect, but has not been able to escape her tortured past. After a failed bid to take her own life, her leg became infected and had to be amputated. Does it hurt you that she has tried to take her own life because of the way she was brought up?
Of course it does. It's not the way she was brought up, it's the way it handled, the way it went out. We didn't have everything that we needed. We had most things. I bought the bigger house because of the likes of little Sarah.
You thought a house would make everything right?
Well, I just thought it would give them more room.
People don't try and take their life because their house is too small.
You're not smart enough
For what?
in your heart. What's in your heart is not the same.
I don't know what you mean by that.
No, of course you don't.
They're saying that they were systematically abused and beaten. Why?
Hey, Farrell. Good to see you. Good to see you. Ah.
Why would the children say it if it wasn't true?
I don't believe they did.
They've said it.
You're getting your point over, that you're looking for trouble. It doesn't matter that you are.
I'm not looking for trouble.
I'm
I'm not looking for trouble. I'm looking for the answers.
One day your children will betray you, and then you'll know how hard it is to just be yourself.
This is Michael Stevenson, one of Anne Hamilton-Byrne's most devoted followers, and likely to take over as leader of the cult when she dies. All the children made all of this up, did they?
Could be. And they were paid
I'm
for it.
asking
They
you
were
that.
paid for it.
I'm asking you that.
You were paid a lot of money.
We weren't paid any money, Michael.
You were certainly paid.
I'm asking. So it didn't happen in your eyes either.
I had a son there.
And how did he go?
Fine.
Was he abused?
No, of course not.
Was he beaten? Was he
No.
disciplined?
Of course not. There's part of natural discipline in families.
He was beaten.
No, he was never beaten. He has never said that he was beaten.
No wonder he fell into the wayside when
He didn't. He didn't fall in a heap. You lot did.
Oh, wow.
We want to get on with our lives. We want to forget the past.
The truth is, the children from the sect have been speaking about what happened to them for more than 2 decades, ever since they were freed in a police raid on the Eildon house. 2 have sued the cult over their barbaric treatment and won compensation. All Sarah has ever asked for is the truth to be told.
For someone like Michael to tell me that I'm a liar.
No, you're living a lie.
I am not living a lie, Michael.
As far as I'm concerned, you're living a lie. And
Because your entire life is a network of lies.
You're suffering for it.
I'm suffering.
We all live lies. We all are living a lie.
What I've suffered in this life is because of what happened up there.
I had a lot of pain.
As long as you blame others, you're nowhere. You're nowhere.
Oh, geez.
Anne Hamilton-Byrne has managed to escape justice all her life.
Yep.
She and her husband Bill were extradited from the United States, where they'd been living in one of her New York mansions. But Anne was convicted of only one offence, falsely registering the birth of 3 of the adopted children, including Sarah. Even the simple truth of Sarah's birth seems beyond these pathological lies. Did you carry Sarah? Were you her biological mother?
Well, I'd naturally believe I was. Of course I was.
She has a biological mother.
Do you have DNA to prove it?
Police do, yeah.
No, the police. Do you?
I don't.
So you always put it on other people, but do you?
Not the mother.
Michael, you're living in a fantasy.
No, I'm not. You're living in a fantasy of pain and deprivation.
Wow.
Sarah has
Evil.
met her natural mother and sees her often. What she had wanted was some kind of understanding from the woman who for so many years pretended to be her mother. But in the end, this now tragic figure squandered what could have been her last opportunity to make amends. Why don't you apologise then? It's so easy.
Because I don't believe in you.
Will you apologise to her?
Of course I will. At the right time. If I have to, of course I will.
Wow.
It's hard to believe, but Sarah
It's so
has
dark.
already forgiven Anne. She became a doctor and now helps children in India. This gutsy woman is determined to make something of her life. You're an amazing person.
Maybe. I'm also very troubled at times, but, I try and contribute, I do. if I can do something, it'll make things worthwhile, I feel. Sometimes I feel that's not worthwhile, but, you know, I give it a go when I can. So.
There's that. That one you can find on the 60 Minutes Australia. It's like I said, a pretty dark one. That was the interview, and this is somebody else speaking a little bit about it, and I like their storytelling pretty well. So let's give a listen.
At their height, the cult known as the Family, also called the Santa Nikitan Park Association and the Great White Brotherhood, had amassed more than 200 followers, a fortune of over 50 million Australian dollars, a number of properties in Australia, the United States, the UK, and had fraudulently adopted and kidnapped up to 28 children. The children were made to believe that their cult leader, Anne Hamilton-Byrne, was their biological mother, who dyed their hair bleach blonde, ordered them to wear identical clothes, and subjected them to emotional, mental, and physical abuse. Corporal punishments and forced ingestion of hallucinogenics were also commonplace. The cult itself was made up of upper middle class professionals, such as nurses, doctors, lawyers, and social workers, who with blind loyalty followed every word of their leader, Anne Hamilton-Byrne, who paraded herself amongst her disciples as the female reincarnation of Jesus Christ.
You think about that these were middle-class people that were supporting this group, just tossing money. And what her word was gospel, because she believed that she was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ.
The group's beliefs were an eclectic mixture of Christianity and Eastern religious teachings, with a high emphasis on the apocalypse, brought about by natural disasters and a nuclear holocaust. Hamilton-Byrne, affectionately referred to as the teacher by her loyal followers, taught her group that with the help of extraterrestrials, they would be saved from this Armageddon and would be chosen to start a new supreme race.
Yes, absolutely, Farrell. Humans are something else. Humans are definitely something else. Yeah, in the wrong business. Yeah, I mean, maybe.
One of her most devoted believers was Dr. Rayner Johnson, an English-born physicist who was a master of Queen's College at Melbourne's University and co-founded the cult. So how did professionals and studious academics fall under this cruel enchantress's spells?
Sex. It's always sex.
Born Evelyn Edwards in 1921 in a small rural settlement in Victoria, her mother was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia after setting her hair alight in public and consequently spent 27 years in a psychiatric institution. Her father travelled extensively for work, and young Evelyn spent most of her formative years growing up in orphanages. In 1941, at the age of 20, Evelyn married her first husband, Lionel Harris. He joined the army and soon after was posted interstate. Lionel went AWOL for nearly 8 months and was arrested by military police after being found with his wife back in Victoria. He served another year before being discharged on compassionate grounds. Newspaper articles report that Lionel Harris was a car salesman, and the married couple had one daughter, Judith, who later changed her name to Natasha. At age 33, Lionel Harris was killed in a car accident whilst on his way to an adoption centre to an arranged adoption for a...
Wow. No airbags there. No airbags. Well, that's a mess right there. Those big wide roads, big wide cars doing a head on. I love the suicide doors on that though. It's pretty cool.
For a baby boy. After her husband's death, Evelyn became fascinated by yoga, a new craze that was becoming highly popular in Western society at the time. Evelyn met yoga teacher Margaret Siegsman in the early 1960s at a yoga school in Melbourne and introduced herself as Anne, a physiotherapist and nurse, none of which were true. Anne then trained and worked with Margaret, who had lived in Indian ashrams and followed a Tibetan guru. Anne would later steal these claims for her own story and opened up her own yoga classes in Geelong. Anne gathered a following in the yoga community and became very successful in drawing.
Well, they might have all walked away from that, but I'm sure they were feeling some pain afterward. When two tanks collide, bodies do bounce. Oh, yeah, they may look human, but they are monsters in disguise. That's damn right, Rabbit. You're so spot on with that.
Drawing wealthy middle-aged women to her classes, still passing herself off as a nurse and physiotherapist. She also made claims that she had supernatural powers, and in one instance, cast a spell on a young man who disagreed with her. Incidents like these caused her students to believe in her claims, and as her following grew, so too did her reputation. Anne met South African naval officer Michael Riley sometime in the early 60s, and later married in 1965. The marriage only lasted a year, but it was Riley's connection to English-born physicist Dr. Rayner Johnson that would be the catalyst for the founding of the New Age sect that they would call the Great White Brotherhood.
Wow.
Dr. Rayner Johnson was an esteemed physicist who studied at Oxford University when he earned a Master of Arts, and in 1922 also gained a PhD in physics at the University of London. He held lectures and published scientific works on spectroscopy. However, by the time he took up residence as Master of Queen's College at the University of Melbourne, Johnson had become more interested in mysticism and spirituality. His beliefs began to fracture relationships with his colleagues, and despite this, he published books on his interests in parapsychology and the occult. It was in December of 1962 that Anne met Dr. Johnson just before he and his wife were due to visit India. Upon their first meeting, Anne warned Dr. Johnson that he should watch his wife closely as she could sense a danger in her health. On the trip, Dr. Johnson's wife suffered a severe attack of dysentery and had to abandon their travels to return home. On the Johnsons' return to Melbourne, they sought out Anne and quickly became the first initiates into Anne's cult, the Great White Brotherhood.
Wow.
Dr. Johnson became infatuated with Anne, who made outrageous claims of supernatural abilities, and later in diary entries wrote about Anne as being Christ-like. Claiming for the benefit of scientific research, the pair would experiment with LSD, in which during the sessions, he would often hallucinate her to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ in female form. Johnson and his wife bought a house in Ferny Creek and gifted it to Anne, who would host weekly meditation sessions and, with the help of the intellectually respected doctor, would recruit many wealthy New Age-seeking professionals, including doctors, psychiatrists, lawyers, nurses, and social workers. Hamilton-Byrne would often...
MLS, good to see you, David. Good to see you. Glad you could swing on by and say hello. Oh, always a pleasure.
give sermons, or as she called them, discourses, from a purple throne in a specially built lodge funded by donations. In the late 1960s, it was through her followers that Anne and her sect would begin to experiment with mind-altering drugs on patients at a psychiatric hospital called New Haven.
Sounds
New
like
Haven
a
was a
party.
private psychiatric hospital owned and managed by one of the members of the sect, and many of the hospital staff were also members. Patients at
Damn.
New Haven were treated with hallucinogenics such as LSD, and they were also subjected to electroshock therapy, and one member was also treated with a lobotomy.
Wow.
Anne Hamilton-Byrne taught her followers that doomsday was around the corner,
It
and that
always
they could
is.
all be saved, but only if they could cancel out all the karma from their past lives. And the only way to do this was through Anne herself and a session of taking LSD, which she called clearings. Anne met her third husband, Bill Byrne, who was a wealthy Englishman who settled in Victoria. Bill was a member of the Great White Brotherhood and already had a family and wife when he met Anne. Bill's wife was quickly shunted to the side and ended up being sent to New Haven Hospital for treatment.
Wow.
From the late 1960s to the mid-1970s, Anne had acquired 14 children. Often these children were the biological offspring of her devoted members.
I mean, imagine that you're some some dude working in a hospital. You run across this lady, and all of a sudden you start believing that she's a reincarnation. And next thing you know, your wife is going to the hospital for treatment. That's a little creepy. And then on top of that, she's got all the children she's capturing up, and all her devoted followers are just signing over their kids to her. It's just so wrong.
Others were obtained through fraudulent adoptions arranged by her lawyers, doctors, and social workers that were part of the cult. The children's identities were changed using false birth certificates, all being given the surname Hamilton-Byrne. According to documentary filmmaker Rosie Jones, who made a documentary about the family, states that some children were literally stolen from public hospitals. In front of her devoted followers, Anne would parade around in a pregnancy smock, leading her flock to believe that she was in fact pregnant. Anne's idea for acquiring the children was that they would be the first generation of the master race after the apocalypse. By 1969, the first children began to arrive in.
It's always a master race after the apocalypse. Oh, why do you have to have a master race? Why not a slave race? I don't understand.
The sect. And in 1971, a 5-acre property called Kailama, known as Up Top, at Lake Eildon, was purchased to house the children. The children's hair was bleached blonde in order to facilitate the illusion of them being related, and they all wore identical clothes. Anne and Bill would frequently travel, leaving the raising of the children to her inner circle of female devotees, referred to as aunties. The routine at Up Top involved yoga, meditation, studying spiritual texts, and vegetarianism. The aunties administered strict discipline at Anne's.
Yeah, sign me off for that one, because you have to be a vegetarian to be part of that group. No, thank you. I like meat too much.
Orders, including, but not limited to, beatings if they wet the bed, withholding food, solitary confinement, and emotional manipulation. The children were only given fruit and vegetables to eat and were forced to exercise and practice yoga whilst listening to tapes of their supposed mother giving religious instruction. According to one of the survivors, when Anne came to visit, her favourite form of punishment was to hit them with her stiletto shoe.
Ouch. Yeah, hard pass, most definitely, and absolutely, poor babies. Some of them survived all of this.
Some members of the cult would let their own children stay at Up Top, sometimes leaving them there for months. The scale of the group of children at its largest was 28 at one time. In 1984, the family, as they were commonly known, registered the Kailama property as a school, Aquinel College, which would lead to government inspections in which the children would be coached to avoid scrutiny. The children would be denied access to the outside world, and upon reaching age 14, they were required to undergo a clearing, which, as we now know, involves ingestion of hallucinogenics. Not only that, but they were routinely forced to take psychiatric drugs to make them more docile and obedient. Dr. Raina Johnson later lamented, quote, "This is perhaps the most amazing aspect of my master's work. Viewed as a piece of organization with devoted and sacrificial help, it is staggering in its outlook, yet it was planned with consciousness of its magnitude and the great responsibility of this undertaking. It had to cover, say, 10 to 15 years before it could lead to success. Only a great master, equally at home in this world and the next, could have hoped to carry it through to a conclusion. It amounted to this: a group of children, some already born here, some yet to be born, were brought together, fostered and adopted and trained from the beginning of their lives in as perfect conditions as could be provided. Their health was meticulously supervised, and all aspects of their welfare and education were considered and provided for. Before they came, it was known by the master when and where and to what parents they were coming and what qualities potentially they brought with them from past lives. It is safe to say the future age will see them, unknown though they are, as custodians and continuers of the work their master has set going in many parts of the world."
Wow.
End quote. Hamilton-Byrne was known in the family as the Master, and as their master, she led her followers and the children to believe that she was in fact their biological mother, imposing a strict rule of seclusion from the outside world upon her family and prescribing them the motto of unseen, unheard, unknown. To the untrained eye, this secretive family was thought to be, in public at least, nothing more than a strange family. The children were always well dressed, fed, and always had parents or guardians with them. So why would anyone raise suspicion? The media had been writing reports on the family since 1980, most notably referring to a case that involved a concerned parent of a child that had been taken by their mother and subsequently was also one of the aunties in the sect. The worried father went to the police and a judge issued a warrant for the mother's arrest. In September of 1983, the child and mother were found to be in hiding in Auckland, New Zealand. This case did not spark a wider investigation, as it was seen as more of a domestic case that should involve community services and child welfare rather than a criminal police undertaking. However, police began to take more interest in the case in 1987 after a brave young survivor, Sarah, told her story to local police after being ejected from the family by Anne for being disobedient. According to her own memoirs, Sarah Hamilton-Byrne, who was born into the cult, left the family in 1987 with the help of friends from her ballroom dancing class. Sarah had long been rebelling against the corporal punishments and strict rules, often leading the other children on nighttime raids to steal food from neighboring houses.
Wow.
It was, however, her act of confiding in a friend's mother and even inviting her over to the lodge at Lake Eildon that was strictly against a code known as Mummy's Rules that saw her being excommunicated. Sarah was prompted to talk to a private investigator who had been monitoring the family for some time, and then she spoke to the local police. Uptop was raided on Friday the 14th of August 1987, and the children were taken into protective custody. Most of the children were confused and frightened, brainwashed into thinking that outside forces were stealing them from their supposed biological mother, Anne Hamilton-Byrne, who had been residing in England with her husband Bill for some time. Former Victorian police detective Lex DeMann became inadvertently involved with the case after hearing stories about the family from local police near Lake Eildon following an investigation on a school fire. Lex DeMann spoke to his boss about following up on the family and was dismissed several times until he put together a report that gauged interest from the drug squad.
Absolutely.
This resulted in the establishment of Operation Forest, a task force headed by Detective Lex DeMann in 1989. In 1990, the cult's lawyer was caught for producing a false statutory declaration. He agreed to cooperate and was interviewed by Operation Forest for 4 months, providing police with substantial information for building a case against Anne and Bill. But the Hamilton-Byrnes, upon learning of the raids, had gone into hiding overseas.
Yep. They headed over to the U.S.
The police and Lex DeMann had no information as to the whereabouts of the Hamilton-Byrnes. In fact, a journalist remarked to DeMann that even if Anne could be found, no charges would stick to her. The compassionate detective took this as a challenge and invested even more time and resources to bring the deluded cult leader to justice. The couple eluded police for several years, and the legal processes moved slowly. When police informed Sarah and the other children that due to the statutory limitation of 12 months from the date of abuse, the authorities were unable to proceed with prosecution, the brave survivors were bitterly disappointed. However, in 1993, Anne Hamilton-Byrne had made a surprising phone call to Sarah, alluding to her whereabouts. Anne and Bill had been in hiding at their property in the Catskill Mountains of New York State in America. With the help of the FBI, the couple were arrested in Hurleyville, New York, on the 4th of June 1993. Detective Lex DeMann flew over to the States to aid in the extradition of Anne and Bill back to Australia. The trial was in November of 1993. Despite years of several facelifts to maintain her immortal facade, the couple's ages of being both 72 were taken into consideration, and the Hamilton-Byrnes were only charged with minor offences. The price they paid for the years...
Oh, hey, Grim. How's it going, brother? Who is this? This is the family, or who was actually running the family of Hamilton-Byrnes. And yes, of course, some more cultists. That's what we do on Mondays. We talk about the wild, wacky, weird cultists. Now, next week I'll be doing a different group that was also called the Family. That one's going to be a little darker than this one. This one's pretty dark, but the other one's even darker. It's so dark that I'll have to probably end up switching over to a different platform whenever I get to a certain part.
Of physical and mental abuse of the innocent, and not to mention the stealing and falsifying birth records and adoptions, a mere $5,000 fine.
So imagine this, all that horrible stuff that she did, all of the absolutely horrendous things she did to these children, and she is just given a $5,000 fine. That's it. $5,000 fine.
Lex DeMann understandably felt that the children and the other ex-members of the cult, who had been also mistreated, were cheated of a greater justice. Sarah Hamilton-Byrne was reunited with her real birth mother and later published a memoir that ultimately saw Anne's reputation take a massive hit in the public eye. Bill Hamilton-Byrne died in 2001, and Anne was diagnosed with dementia in 2004, leaving only a few loyal followers of the cult by her side. In 2016, the brave woman who helped...
No, it's not even that. It's just disturbed. That's the whole thing. Just disturb people. I mean, somebody's got to talk about it. Easy stuff to find out about. And it also brings to light some of these groups that are little, they go under the radar, and there's more of them out there. You just don't know about them yet.
With the unraveling of the family, Sarah Hamilton-Byrne had died at the age of only 46.
Damn.
Anne outlived her by 3 years, finally passing away in 2019 at the age of 97. In one of her last appearances, she was seen mumbling incoherently and clutching a baby doll. Thanks for watching. If you found any of the information here to be triggering or traumatic, then please call any one of the helplines listed on screen. If you would like to see one of your comments right here, then start a comment with Shadow Shoutout. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to see more content like this, and hit that notifications bell to keep up to date with the latest videos. And together, we can explore the strange.
There you go. This can't be her. She looks nothing like Elvira. No, not at all. My boobs are getting there though. I just need to work on them a little bit more. My hair needs to get cut is what needs to happen. It's starting to get all shaggy and unruly. You like that so far? You like it? Well, excellent. Because there's a little bit more about her that's out there. Well, not just about her, but about a very, very particular person. And let me put it in here really quick if I can find it. So we're talking about that. So how do I do this? So there's someone that you probably know. That streak of gray. Yeah, I've got a few streaks of gray. There's someone that is really well known. That his father, so I'm giving some stuff away, was also reported to be a member of the family. And that particular person would have been none other than this guy right here, Julian Assange. He was born in Townsville, Queensland, to Christine Ann Hawkins and John Shipton. The couple separated before their son was born. When Julian was a year old, his mother married Brett Assange, an actor with whom she ran a small theater company, whom Julia Assange regards as his father, choosing Assange's surname. Christine and Brett Assange divorced in 1979. Christine then became involved with Leif Manel, also known as Leif Hamilton, who Assange later described as a member of an Australian cult called the Family. Manel and Christine Assange separated in 1982. Well, hot damn. Well, of course. Yeah. You were wrong. Not Hunter Biden. Julian Assange was his mother's boyfriend was involved in that particular little cult. And it's not, I think this is one of the things that a lot of people tend to forget about cults is you won't realize you're in one until something strange happens and you go, wow, that doesn't sound normal. And sometimes you'll just pass that off as something just off, quirkiness, weirdness. But if you dig into it a little bit deeper, you'll find some of that weirdness and quirkiness is coming from somewhere. Sometimes it's manipulative. This is why I've always had a hard time with the what do you call them? The soothsayers, the psychics. If you want to do the psychic stuff for fun, I just have a hard time with psychics because I've known too many people that get duped into believing that a psychic knows something that they actually don't. Because they're, pulling some shady shit. Most psychics are pulling shady stuff. It's not uncommon. You have to have a little bit of the ability to scam people to be a psychic. Jedi mind trick always works. Absolutely. Right. It's just your life, behavior, information, thoughts, emotions. Yep. Yes. It is. It's always. It can be very hard for people to discern what would be legitimate cause. We've seen it many times. Think about someone doing a GoFundMe. That looks like you're helping somebody indirectly. I think there's a girl and her husband or boyfriend girlfriend situation that we're trying to help out this veteran that supposedly he gave his last bit of money to help her out so she could put gas in her car, and she wanted to pay it forward and raised all this money. And it turns out that he never helped them out. They just used him as a vehicle to gather money. And then he sued them to try to get some of it back. Because they just left him pretty close to high and dry. They gave him something, but not a whole lot. The rest of it they took and spent on themselves. Um, that couple ended up serving some time for it, but it's had he not stepped forward, somebody throwing together a GoFundMe to what you think is supporting a worthwhile cause. It could be, somebody saying that they're that they're dying, and not. Um, it's a crappy thing for people to do. Um, and it takes away from people that truly truly would need some sort of help, because of circumstances, because somebody is pulling a grift, somebody's pulling a scam. It sounds sincere on on the on the face of it, and the snake there you go, snake oil salesman. They tend to ruin it for the rest of people that are truly in need of help, like prosperity gospel. Yes. um it happens. It happens. These kinds of evil people are out there, and finding out about them and uncovering them is a very, very important thing. um this is why I have problems with uh these kinds of groups. Is it really takes away from the people that are in need, or groups that are doing something good. um and it's painful to watch, it's painful to see. There's a level of disgust, and it just makes it more difficult. At I mean, there's certain things I want to talk about, but YouTube rules does not want me to even mention certain places because of this. Because if you even mention it on your channel, they'll uh they'll give you a nice big strike. A little bit easier whenever I didn't have to worry about that. Avarice is a deadly sin for a reason. Yeah, it is. It is. But there's something to be said about having having a group of people out there that are keeping an eye on it. And some of those people, some of those people, um, are just as bad. Like, you'll think that they're one group of people, and I've shown a couple of these there that still exist, um, that have they say one goal, and they do something completely different. And that's something for something for next week. Next week will um, be covering the family. Um, and I can give a little bit of a sneak peek into it. This particular family was a little bit different. Um, see if I've got it in here somewhere. Yeah, let me pull this up. Mm. 'Cause this is what we're going to be. All right, that that one is a little dark. Let me find it real quick. And uh, give me just a second. Yes, I don't. Oh, I've got to be a little bit careful. Um, there's still groups that exist out there, and this is the one that is going to be we're going to be covering next week. Where is it? There we go. This is the group that we will be covering next week. It's the Family International, as they're known now. They used to also be called the Children of God. The Family International is an online Christian network, and you notice it says online. So very much online. Christian network with individuals in 75 countries committed to sharing the message of God's love with others. Members strive to share a message of faith and hope for all nations to make a difference in their local community. Love is God's solution to problems the world faces, even in the complex and challenging world we live today. Love put into action is the greatest service to humankind. If you're searching for answers to deep questions of life, check out our publications on Faith Foundations and subscribe. But they don't have brick and mortar. I hope God wore it better. Yeah. So this is who I'm going to be covering next week. And it's a little dark. Gets really dark. They look like pretty wholesome kids there, don't they? And that will be next week's. That will be next week's story. Make sure you guys reached over there, hit the thumbs up. It helps out with the algorithm. I wanted to do a short one. What platform will I be moving it to? Towards the end of it, it'll be moving to be strictly on the Rumble side. It's a pretty disturbing thing that's going to be shown. So I don't even want to risk it on this on the YouTube side. It's oh, sorry to hear that, Jude. You had eye surgery. I hope you get to feeling better, Jude. Really. I would say to you, but I don't know if that'll make your eyes feel any better or your eye. I think I follow you there. Well, if not, follow me over there on the Rumble side, and I'll put a link over there for it next week when I get it set up. The rest of the week I'll be doing. It's going to be a busy week. So tomorrow I will be doing a show with Jessica Reloaded, and as soon as I finish up this one tonight, I'll post a link up to that one to make sure that everybody is able to everybody is, well, if you're subbed, you'll get the notification that of the show that's going to be coming up. But that's whenever I'm actually going to be doing it, because that's where we'll be. That's what we'll be doing tomorrow. Tuesday is going to be trial with the Depp Heard trial with Jessica Reloaded. I think Wednesday also. It just depends on if we can work it out completely. If we're not able to work it out, well, then we'll might have a Saturday. Friday it'll be well, our prayers go out to you too also, Rabbit. Our prayers go out to anybody that's going through times. So everybody make sure that you look out for each other. That's sort of what we want everybody to do. Just look out for each other and care about each other some way, shape, or form. It's not all about yourself. There's people that need support, love, And speaking of support and love, let's try to get on a little bit happier note, because I'm just not feeling myself. My co-host couldn't make it tonight, and sometimes she keeps me in check. And of course, I'm a I'm a I'm a goofball, complete goofball. So what I'll do tonight is I'm going to send you guys over. If you're liking the paranormal stuff, I'll send you guys over to go see the expert whenever the stream ends. If it doesn't redirect you, then all you have to do is jump over there, and I'll have the link pinned up there for all the people that are coming in later. That's where I'll be. That's where I'll be sending you guys whenever this ends. And I mean, like I said, tomorrow tomorrow's gonna be a long day. I've got work Thursday. I've got a meeting that I have to handle, so I won't be doing any streaming. Well, maybe I will. We'll see if Thursday I'm able to do it late. I don't know. Friends coming in and all that kind of stuff. It's been a hectic week, and then Halloween coming up and all that kind of stuff. And damn, that's how it goes. But with that, I'm gonna close this thing down, and everybody have a wonderful night. And make sure that the expert knows that I sent you guys over there. Just say you got raided by a bunch of people watching witches and warlocks. And just kidding. Just tell them that you guys came over from my channel. Say hi for me. Peace, y'all.